morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are listening this podcast. I am Apo Adman, and welcome to Luntiang Aghama Internet Radio. So I just finished the graduation ceremony of Kunvi Vo Kao, which is a Vietnamese American, and we just arrived home after sending her or to the Naiya Terminal 3, and she is flying back to Vietnam. So I pray for her safe journey as she goes back to her homeland. So today I'm going to discuss about traditional indigenous spirituality and what it meant and how we could live it in our life. So have you ever asked yourself about what traditional indigenous spirituality means and why it is important for us now to have a Bansagan Talatanda naming ceremony for ourselves? I believe that some of you who have undergone the process understand the importance of it as explained by our Grand Ninang Jen Tulay Araw Maramba, our very own Dayang Tala Pinagpalang Saksi, and by yours truly, Apo Atman. In our recent Bansagan Talatanda naming ceremony, in which we had a Vietnamese guest to witness the ceremony, I realized that it is important for each of us to own something that is ours. This realization comes from knowing the personality of our guest as an American Vietnamese who is currently living and working in Vietnam. As an American Vietnamese, she felt being a foreigner in the US. As we know, Asians are being discriminated in that land, and Asians living in America should be tough in order to survive and live a peaceful life. Queen V was a Vietnamese who was born in the US as a result of her parents' migration to the US, and technically she has an American passport since she is a citizen of United States of America. With that feeling, he decided to fly back to Vietnam to work there and relearn Vietnamese culture and tradition. But unfortunately, even as a US citizen, which we know as a US citizen, you have so much privilege in traveling to different countries without needing a visa. And as a worker in Vietnam, Queen V needed to secure a visa. She was so happy living in Vietnam, knowing their people and as well as their culture. But Vietnamese people see her as a foreigner. And now, coming into the Philippines as a student of Hilot Academy of Pinabailan, she feels that she is a total stranger. But her desire to know Hilot does not hinder her goal in knowing our ancestral healing arts, so as our spirituality. Her goal in learning our ancestral medicine is not because she will adapt our healing method, but her goal is to know how our healing art is connected to our spirituality. Though talking about the Philippine spirituality is a wide topic of coverage as it will include traditional spirituality being practiced which comes from different Christian churches and Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. It will also include the topic of magical mystical religion that will include the folk Catholicism, folk Islam, and folk Buddhism, so as the indigenous spiritual belief and practices in our country, which can be found in the indigenous communities and can be considered as tribal religion. The problem with our focus on tribal religion is that we have no clear evidence that our indigenous beliefs and practices are not influenced by the mainstream religion, such as the belief on the Diwata. We know that it has an influence of Hindu Buddhist religion through the Srivijaya and Madhyapahit expansion to our country during the 10th century Common Era. And it is not clear for us how our indigenous communities have started working with the Diwata. But even though we do not have clear evidence, such as having a holy scripture nor temple ruin about the Diwata, some of our ancestral beliefs toward the Diwata and practices have been orally preserved. But these beliefs are now being endangered to be forgotten as most of our indigenous community are being converted into Christianity and Islam. Not because of faith, they were converted into Islam or Christianity not because of faith, but due to economic convenience it may bring. the family. Even though we have our even though we have on the legitimacy we have doubt on the we have doubt on the legitimacy of the Diwata that we are working now with, now being an indigenous deities. This Diwata whom we work with become our bridge so that we could recognize who is our indigenous deity. But what does it mean to be indigenous? Does it mean that we should belong to a certain indigenous community to be considered as indigenous? According to the United Nations, indigenous people are known to be holders of unique language, knowledge system, and beliefs, and possesses invaluable knowledge and practices for the sustainable management of natural resources. Being AI defines indigenous as any group of people native to a specific region of which these people lived in that region before colonists or settlers arrived. Filipinos in diaspora can be called settlers. I haven't read in our history that we as Filipino colonized any region or nation in the world. But as Filipino in diaspora, we could connect back ourselves to our native land where our ancestors were born, such as a certain village, municipality, city, or province in the Philippines, and we could say that we are indigenous to that part of our homeland. Through that village, municipality, cities, or provinces, our ancestors gain their experiences that become a lesson in their lives, which they pass down to our parents and our parents onto us. And this passing down of experiences becomes a tradition, which as we kept valuable as it is unique and indigenous to our family alone. Thus, following a traditional indigenous spirituality doesn't mean following a certain established tribal religion or spiritual organization such as ours, Luntiang Aghama, but allowing us to practice the spirituality on which our ancestors have passed on to us, and not that being a Catholic or Muslim teaching, but how our ancestors value their families that makes our existence possible in this lifetime. It is through their seed that has been planted out of abundance of their love towards their wives, which conceived our first parent into existence, and the existence of our parents through love make life possible for us to exist as well. So, in search for indigenous deity, our key in knowing them is through our ancestor, and thanks to the Diwatang Kilupansa, on which he revealed unto us as this healing system which allow us to know our great parents, which is our very own deity. In terms of working with our deities that we call as Diwata, it is our higher self through the assistance of our ancestor will guide us in doing things in our life. It is not anyone else who will tell you nor dictate you on what to do. Not even me does have any authority towards your spiritual development. But what I can only do is share my experiences, and it is only you who can make your light shine brightly. I hope that this podcast may help you walk back to the path of our race as we live our life according to our indigenous spirituality. If you like our episode today, consider supporting us by subscribing to our Buy Me a Coffee page, which the link should be found on the description below. So thank you very much. May you all blessed be peace. Mayari na. Pag-asatin. Paalam!